Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Indie Author Life Show. My name is MG Hunt, and today I have with me someone who understands the power of getting lost in a good book because she herself writes them. So, welcome to the show, A L Rojo. Yay! Yay!
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me
Oh,
today. I really appreciate this.
of course. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I've been so excited to chat to you about certain things ever since I saw the artwork for the Farrowline series. And
Oh,
there's
yeah.
four in that. And one thing that I really appreciate as a graphic designer is how consistent they all look. They
Oh,
all have the beautiful profiles of the woman on the front, and I will quickly describe them for people that haven't seen them before. So they all have like a white sort of background cover with a silhouette, a shadow of a female profile. Without
mm.
getting, into the details about certain characters and all that. And there's like some of them have like a foresty theme or like a nature theme behind each of the silhouettes. And they all look amazing all together. And all four are out. Is that right?
That is right. So yes, we're up to number 4 in the series. There is now going to be 7 in this series. There was originally going to be 6,
Oh my God.
but recently, and I guess I kind of announced that on socials not long ago. Um, there's a new book that's kind of slotted itself into the list that
Hmm.
wasn't actually going to happen. It was just always there in the background, but it seems to want to be told. So yeah, so 7. But my
Wow.
graphic design is amazing, and it wasn't even the covers originally. It wasn't what was in my head. It was a totally completely different idea of what the heart would look like. And I was having a conversation with her, and we were emailing. And I just made a comment, or I really like this, and it was the image that's on the heart. And I'm
Mm.
like, but I'm not sure. It was very much just like I would love to, but I'm not sure where I would go with.
Mm.
And then she came up with this, and I was just, that's it. Like that was
Yeah.
that was it. And she's just absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think she's done an amazing job because I haven't really seen anything quite like it in the indie circle in regards to, I think what also is so great about it is because it does look so sleek and clean and light, but also has like the shadowy kind of silhouette element to it that I think it kind of stands out amongst all like the heavy sort of like text and medieval kind of themes. I guess it's the only way I could describe that other aesthetic. Don't get me wrong, I love that too. Oh yeah, I
Oh,
gravitate to that as well. I love a nice cover, full stop. So
yeah.
yours are very
Yeah.
like elegant and sleek.
No, I appreciate that. And it's a great, yeah. A lot of people comment on it, and yeah, it is very, yeah, it's very humbling because you work on it, and
Hmm.
it's it's not necessarily my expertise. I'm not very,
Mhm.
creative in that sense. So when I say these words, and then she,
Mm.
takes it and creates something, it blows my mind. Her genius blows my mind.
Yeah.
So she's great to work with.
That's awesome. I'm really glad to hear that you've got a good relationship with your cover artist. More power to them, keeping them
Yes.
employed, especially with the AI onslaught of some
Yeah.
people choosing to go down that route. But no, we don't do
No,
that here. So,
not here.
no,
No.
no, no, no.
Not
So,
that.
anyway, we should get into a little bit more about yourself. So, I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and where you grew up.
Okay, so I'm an indie author from Western Sydney. I grew up in Western Sydney, so it's very much where I was born and raised. Yeah, I like to write lots.
Yep,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I don't know what else. Yeah, I live with my kids, my husband, my fur baby.
Fur
Yeah,
baby.
my
And
fur
what
baby.
what
Yeah,
is the fur baby? Dog or cat or
a dog. Yes,
Oh, so
yes.
sweet. I'm guessing has writing always been a passion of yours, even when you were younger?
I think when I was younger, so I've always been a daydreamer. It was always, books and reading, 100% has always been my passion. Even as a young, child, It was a way for me to understand the world a little bit better. And I think, and as I reflect on it as an adult, I know now what I was doing by reading. That it was a way for me, not necessarily to escape, but for me to understand things that were maybe
Mm.
harder for me during my everyday.
Yep.
And I very much used that, through my teen years, just a way of understanding things, and also, escaping some things that I didn't understand.
Mm.
Um, so writing doesn't necessarily, part of it, it was more just daydreaming and me coming up with these stories in my own head. And it wasn't till, about a year before I published The Heart, that I gave myself permission to explore that in a different way and to write down what I was doing in
Yeah.
my daydreams.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where it came from. So, you know, it was always just a private, personal thing that I never thought it was going to be anything bigger than what it became,
Yeah.
originally.
And
Yeah.
it's really turned into something so um, passionate for yourself and turned into its totally new, I don't know, like a bigger world than probably you
Yeah.
expected to
Oh,
be.
100%. From where I was, you know, not wanting to publish The Heart or share my first story with people because I was so nervous to say, oh, actually,
Mm,
look what I've done. And everyone's like, you wrote? Like, what do you mean you do that? And it's like, here you
yeah.
go. Do you want to read this? To people who are, obsessed with books and like have,
Oh,
their opinions of it and be like, oh, do you want to read something? From that point and that anxiety and the emotions of that to where I am today is just so
so
privileged, I feel.
I'm
Yeah.
really glad to hear that you were able to push through some anxieties around getting your work out there because I totally get it. I
Mm.
definitely have friends in my circle that are huge literary avid readers. I was going to say literary nerds. And so I was definitely
Yes.
shy to like say, oh, actually, I'm writing something too.
It's so hard. It's
Mm.
so hard. And because they have such, I guess, as readers, we have our opinions and our loves and what we like and our passions, but it's
Yeah,
such a passion area, for
yeah,
readers. So yeah, when you give it to someone, you're like, I hope you like it. Can you just
yes,
read this for me? And like I have, people in my beta teams who are, educated in literature and all
yeah,
this sort of stuff. And it's very daunting even to today to give manuscripts to people,
yeah.
and to drafts to people.
And it's interesting that we think like that too, because I think maybe I'm sure you probably thought this too, unless I am mistaken with your education background, but I didn't do literature in high school or, as a degree or anything like that. So I'm sure you probably felt like that, maybe sort of like, am I allowed to be an authority on it if I didn't study it? But to that, like so many people that I've talked to do not have degrees in literature, English language, or anything like that. And they're still able to do what we do
A
and
hundred
write.
percent. A
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, I've done certain things at university, about it all, but I think also in another sense it was, do I have the ability to be a part of that? Do I have not so much the right to do it, but do I have
Mm.
am I good enough to put myself, on that bookshelf?
Mm,
And
mm,
that's actually the other side of that too, is,
mm.
up against everything else that you've learned is, can I actually put my little book, up
Yeah.
against these other books?
Yeah.
Especially at the beginning, that was really quite difficult for me to wrap my head around because I enjoyed books as a reader, and I'm like, do I have permission to then write my own book?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It's
which is
hard
a
to get
very,
around that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm really glad you did. Because the world needs to have the stories. And I think to that, one thing about self-publishing is the accessibility of it, where, okay, like there's arguments for perhaps the quality around that gets, I guess, not spewed out, but if anyone can go ahead and publish, or self-publish, then you're going to have a range of quality. And so that's one thing that I had to learn too, the same as yourself, where I have permission to do this. I want it to stand next to some of my other favorite books out there, so just give it a go. And you did.
Yep. Yeah,
So exciting
100%.
to
No,
see.
it was, yeah, it took a lot. It took a lot, as you know. It
Yeah.
takes a lot. You have to overcome so much to do it. And
Yeah.
even till today, if a new book comes out, I'm still feeling all of that and, the imposter
Yes.
syndrome and all we have to feel it and we feel it. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, just give it a go. You only have one shot, so
Well, that's right. And I'm sure,
yeah.
did you have like a particular moment or like chat to yourself or someone else kind of helped you through the getting over the fear of publishing? Or did you just have to talk to yourself and get the strength to go, yeah, I'm going to do this kind of thing?
I think when I first started writing, I went through a quite challenging time in my life. So I was already at a stage where I knew things were shifting for myself. Um,
Mm.
and I think I did lean on, my husband and, some of the people around me who I gave the books to. I think I've asked them a few times if they did enjoy it. Are you sure? Are you sure you liked it? I had to ask a few times, are you sure it was good enough to do this? But yeah, I think it was very much a personal thing to say, no, this is it.
Yeah.
I have people around me say, you're okay, Alex, like let's do this, you're okay
Yeah.
kind of thing. But it is very much all right, just do it, just show myself, show my kids, everyone that no, if I have a passion for something and I want this to be what I do, which, it is now.
It is.
Um,
Mm.
I just had to dive in and do it.
Yeah.
So, oh, yeah,
Yeah, you really
a
took
lot.
that leap. Yeah, it's a lot. And I think that's also kind of like the double-edged sword with being a creative person, where it is such a personal pursuit and kind of solitary pursuit to write your um, dreams and ideas that you've got in your head. And it's a vulnerable thing to put it out there. But in order to reach an audience, we have to be so
Yeah,
bold and put it out there. And then comes the other side of it where you become known to more people than you could ever, I guess, know yourself, to unknown people that are picking your book up. And it's kind of a strange
it
new
is.
world to
It
be
is
in.
100%.
Yeah,
It is. It's so much fun.
it is. It
Um,
is.
but it is a lot.
I saw on your social media, I think on Instagram just recently, about you introducing your street team. Is that
Oh yeah.
right? And
Yes.
I'm wondering, have you met any of your street team people in person?
There are a few who actually didn't have slides up, so either
Ah,
side. But so I do have a few that I've met. Some I know I'm meeting very soon at author events. That's coming up. I'm so
woo! Yeah.
um, so a few I have met at author signings, and a few that I'm actually going to in the coming or maybe even I think next month and the month after. And
Oh.
yeah, so we have some kind of opportunities to meet up, which yeah, I'm really looking forward to.
That's so
Um,
cool. I love hearing
yes.
that. And it's so interesting too because like some of them you haven't met in person, but yet they've gravitated to your work. And that's a testament to your ability to get your work out there, that it has touched the, I guess, lives of people that you haven't met and they've been so enthusiastic about your work that they've joined your street team. I mean, that's got to feel pretty cool.
It does feel really cool. And it's quite a privilege, I think,
Mm,
to know that people would give their time to, help support me and,
yeah.
do all these sorts of things, even though they've never met me and they just know me through my books. Obviously, now we know each other connected more through, our
Mm,
messages with each other and our conversations and things. But it is to think that, people would have like, give me their time. I know how precious time is, like, even just with
yeah.
my life just to give me their time on it, it is very humbling and I find that yeah it is such a privilege and I'm very thankful for everyone who picks up my books.
Oh, absolutely. And you can tell because you always love to engage with your um not only street team, but people that will message you and leave comments and things like that. So that's one big plus for our indie community as well, is having friendly people like yourself be open to anything like that. So it's really, really encouraging to see. So I should also ask you another kind of routine life-based question. I'm wondering if you can give us an insight into perhaps what a day or week in your life looks like. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a writing routine as well. It could just be everything that happens in your indie author life.
Yes. You know what? The only thing that would come up is just parenting. Lots of
Yes.
parenting responsibilities, sports and appointments and, all that, school things, all that fun stuff. I
Hmm.
have had the privilege this year to focus on writing full time. So now I'm home writing full time, which is, yeah, absolutely great. So where I was, I was saying before, to where
That's
I am now,
awesome.
it's very, very different.
Yeah.
So I guess I like to do a lot of morning writing to begin with. Obviously, you've just woken up, you're fresh, you get the kids out, they go to school, everyone's happy. And then I take a few hours in the morning just to do some writing or marketing or any kind of, creations, do all that sort of stuff. So that's really what I try to aim to. I don't really have a schedule.
Yep.
Um, I'm very much a mood writer. So, things have to happen when my brain's ready to explore
Mm.
it.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, a lot of appointments.
Yes.
A lot of
A lot of
a
driving,
lot of
probably.
a lot of driving.
Oh,
Three
back and
kids,
forth.
three sports, and all those sorts of things. So
Oh, jeez.
it's it's fun. But as we were talking about before we started,
Mm,
winter season is
busy.
is a busy season. Yeah.
So you've got the netball. Do you have the footy as well, or rugby, or
Basketball, we've got
basketball?
basketball. Yep.
Basketball. That's it.
Yep.
Yep.
So you can only pick two in the
Yep.
winter sport that we have to do, and then we've got all reps and things coming up soon, and all that
Oh,
sort of stuff. So yeah, it's
yeah.
all fun.
Late nights, I can imagine. Yeah.
A lot of people around, a lot of dinners, quick dinners in the car, and
Quick dinner.
pre-cooking dinners, packing them, and all that sort of stuff. So
Wow.
um,
Wow, wow, wow. And then by the time you get home, you're like, nah, I'm stuffed. I'm going straight to bed,
that's
probably.
it. Everyone
Hmm.
just relax. That's what it is.
So you're definitely more of a morning writer, and I can understand why, because that seems to be like a lot of my other parent friends go to me as soon as you drop the kids off at school, then you got that hour, that like motivation kind of time in the next like 2, 3 hours to go, all right, let's get this stuff done. In the afternoon, depending on whatever happens, it's just like, okay, whatever happens, happens after that. And then you got the school pickup and then the sports and all that.
Yeah,
So I think you've got a
very much.
good routine there.
We try. We have to be. It's very much a bit busy calendars, but we do try to make sure everything's kind of popped down so we know what's happening.
Yeah.
Then at night time, I think so. I get obviously, as I said, I'm a writer, so I do find a lot of inspiration at nighttime. So when everyone's in bed, everyone's safe. I
Mm,
guess I'm able to then shut off my mum brain,
yeah.
and the all that sort of housework. Nothing can be done. It's just me, and my writing or me and my imagination. So
That's so
either it's
interesting.
morning or it's nighttime for me. So,
Ah, okay. So inspiration probably comes to you more at night, I can imagine.
yeah.
So the routine of like the getting stuff done is in the day, and then at night ideas come to you. So I'm guessing, like, have you ever had like, I don't know whether you're the same, but before you fall asleep, you come up with like a really good idea, and then you're just like, oh, gotta get into that next morning. But will it still be there in the morning? Oh,
I
it's
think I
hard.
did a thing on that, Doris, on a few months ago. It was I got this idea and I was like, no, I'm really tired. I'm like, write it down. No, write it down. And literally forgot when I woke up. And I was like, "Shit, I should have written it down. So I'm getting better at writing down my notes or popping to my phone quickly before I
Yes.
go.
Put it in the
Yes.
phone. But sometimes do you ever look at ideas that you've put there and you're like, oh, what was I thinking?
Yeah. Well, it's like, what does that mean?
What does that mean?
All
Or
right.
there's
What was
been
that?
sometimes like I have like I'm a big fan of voice notes. And there'll be
Mm.
times where I've tried to explain what's going on and my phone has just completely like butchered the names of my made up names that I've just made and I just go, oh my God, whatever. I know what I meant.
I think I tried a voice note once and it cut off what I was saying. Like it picked up two words and that was it. I'm like, I'm not even going to bother
No.
anymore. You write it down. Like it didn't like me or something. I don't know what my phone does. but it's not a fan of me talking to it.
No,
So
it's the Aussie accents. I think I've got to be really like careful about what I say because it will interpret my voice really strangely sometimes.
all right, no, I just keep to writing it down.
Just write it down and I'll just
You're
kind of,
right, especially the names. If you're making up these names, especially if you're writing fantasy and things, or your names are a bit out there,
yeah,
they cannot
forget
get
about
that.
it. No, which is fair. That means that, it's original for your
That's right.
names, that they haven't existed before. But I know I always like, I have to, every time I make a reel or something and I say the character's name and I have to go through the captions and always change, like, especially the character Zahn in my book, which, to be fair, should look like phonetically that it's spelt with a Z, but I've spelled it with KZ, and then the K is silent, and you just go, oh my
Yeah.
God. Do you have any names like that in your?
Um, no, I
Like,
don't actually.
oh,
No,
that's
I
good.
don't. No, nothing too out there.
Nothing too out
Yeah,
there. That's good. That's
nothing
good.
so
Phonetically.
far. What's been published yet? It's probably not too
Hmm.
out there.
Yes, that's right. There could be some interesting stuff that pops up in the rest of your books too. So,
Yeah.
I should get into another question that I have for you, which is, what do you find is the hardest part about writing? And on the opposite side, what do you enjoy most about writing?
I guess the hardest part's probably what I've said about being a mood writer. So, and just not having that time sometimes to, inspiration hits, but I'm in the car driving to netball. It's not
Yes.
necessarily something that I can pop down and write. So, I guess that could be probably the hardest thing. It's like, oh, I'm in the mood to write, or the story's flowing in my head and it's working, but not actually being able to stop what I'm doing or finding that space to sit and type it out or write it out. So,
Totally.
I guess that must is probably the hardest part. I find it hard to sit and find my voice or flow the story in my head when I'm
Mm.
forcing it. It really has to be when it's ready to be told. Now, I was saying on the other side about enjoying it. Um, I guess it's doing something with the daydreams.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it gives purpose to the daydreams,
Oh,
and
totally.
exploring that and having I find it so fun to just let my imagination go, and it's kind of a totally different side to myself,
Yeah.
that is only mine, and then I share it with the world by writing it all down, but it is my own personal little space where I just, yeah, let my creativity go, and
It's
yeah,
amazing.
be the writer, I guess, in my head.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm sure it's a cathartic experience as well, where you've had the ideas for a long time, I can imagine, for Farrowline in particular. Is that right? Like a long time spending time thinking
Yeah,
about it.
I think that the pack's always kind of been there.
Yeah.
Um, and a lot of the characters, especially like Tobias and Dominic, so my alpha and my beta, um, they were always there in a weird way to say it like
Mm,
that. If you don't
yeah,
understand what I'm saying, like
yeah,
if that sounds,
absolutely.
they were kind of always there. The story was always around, and I guess a lot of the situations and the emotions in book one, are very much, um, stories and experiences that were in my head for such a long time. Um,
Interesting. So you kind of
yeah.
had like more of the character before the situation, or were there situations and then there were other characters that were developed and then you kind of put them together?
Oh, that's a hard one. Actually, I have to really think about that.
Mm, it's hard,
I
isn't it?
think it was characters first.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
characters, and then the situations. I drew upon a lot of different, things to create those
Mm,
situations. But yeah, very much character based. I feel
yep.
like my writing is character central in my head, especially.
Mm,
It's very much, the characters create the story.
yeah, for sure. For sure. But that is interesting because I know you were, well, reading your bio on your website, you're a big fan of being in nature. And so that's what made me think about like maybe there were certain situations, or maybe you were hiking somewhere, going on a walk or exploring certain areas, and then whoosh, a scenario comes into your head or something like that, maybe.
It's very much emotions. So it's when I
Mm,
experience those emotions. Um, I find this
Yeah.
part the hardest to explain actually when people ask me. Um, it is very much about being in situations, but the emotions that I feel,
Yes.
they trigger things in my head that create the stories, if I've explained that.
Yeah. Yeah, for
If I
sure.
explain that clearly, I guess. It's really hard for me to say. I don't, yeah.
Yeah.
It's very much emotion based. So if it is hiking or walking or there's a situation in the heart where my female character, so Ridley's in the shops with her baby, and the baby's crying, 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 and she's on
Mm.
her own. And it's in that moment of just needing someone to come and help you. Like you've got, like you're hanging off the trolley and this, and it's so much, trying to hold things. The baby's crying, trying to do stuff, and it's those situations that I've drawn upon with emotions, like just needing that help. Um,
Yes, needing
and then
something to change.
that kind of created, you know, Alpha walks into the shop with, finds you and sees you and then helps you. So what do you need in those moments? So
Perfect. That's
yeah.
so interesting and so unique because I've never thought about how emotion really does impact and create scenarios, but it makes total sense because, especially when you say that your books are character driven in a lot of your perspective, well, the emotions of what the characters have will be in the forefront of what's going on in the
Mm.
environment around them. Perfect example with mum and baby. And then, oh, it'd be so nice if someone could just help me out. Oh, look at this.
Gonna be a hunky, wolf shifter alpha would walk in and help. So I think that's
Perfect.
one of the things. I think Tobias, so my alpha was created around that scenario.
Yeah,
And it was, what would you just need in that moment? It'd be so great if you know,
that's it.
hunky wolf shifter walked in and gave me a hand. And
Wow.
yeah,
And go
that's
from there.
how I go from. Yes, that's right.
Perfect. And I think how, it does speak to fantasy being so, driven to driven from personal experiences, but also giving the freedom to write about what if this happened? How amazing would that be? And then that's how an amazing story comes from that, from something that just existed in your mind at first, and then it turned into something awesome on the pages.
Yeah.
So cool. No, it's really exciting to see. What encouraged you to actually start writing, like sit down and do it?
Um, it was a hard time in my life. So,
Mm.
I did experience a really hard, there was a lot of stuff happening. Um, and so I think writing then became a way for me to, explore myself a little bit better and, just to sit in my own space and think about what I'm doing, where I'm going. Um,
Mm.
reflect on. So I did write a story. That's so that the heart was not the first story that I ever wrote.
Ah,
I have a whole a whole book that I've written um that hasn't seen the light of day. I think only two people have read it. I've spoken about it before. So only two people have read it.
interesting.
And it was very much my story that I needed to say. It wasn't about me. It was very, fantasy as well. So
Mm.
paranormal.
Mhm.
Um, but I guess I wrote that when I was in that headspace.
Yeah,
Um, and it was just my permission, I guess,
yeah,
to just be creative and, as we were saying, saying it's
yeah,
okay for me to be a part of this world and this space
yeah,
and to, cut out my little space in this creative world that we're in.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, I think it took reaching quite a low point,
yeah.
but something beautiful came from it. So,
Wow.
in hindsight, it all had to happen. What did happen had to happen.
Yeah.
Um, but good things came from it. So yeah.
So, so inspiring to hear because it just, life has a funny way of not knowing. There's no rhyme or reason to why
Mm.
things happen, but the human experience of being able to turn something awful into
Yeah.
something powerful and meaningful is incredible. And I'm really glad to hear that you were able to do that. Not for anything terrible to happen, that's for sure. We don't need that. But to make something out of a really tragic and awful time in your life into something you've spun gold from that. And it is a story that I think maybe I don't know why it takes something so like powerful and potent or life-changing for a lot of people to go, I'm just going to give this a shot. I'm very glad when people decide to do it. But yeah, I think maybe it's just really interesting how there seems to be also like a through line for people's experiences where they feel like they need a change. They need something to lift their spirits maybe as well. And
Yeah,
creativity tends to come from that.
yeah. It is, and it's yeah, it's good. It had to happen, and that was okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Uh,
good.
I'm really glad to hear that. So, if you're ready to get into some specific stuff about your books, I'm ready
Ready?
to jump in to The Lost Lady of the Darkwoods, which first of all, love that name. I think that
Thank
is
you.
awesome. I just love how spooky it sounds. So, I would love to ask you a few questions about it. So, I would love to know how long did it take you to write your latest release?
About 3 to 4 months to write.
Oh,
Yeah, so
nice.
pretty similar to the heart. The heart took me about 9 months to do.
Yep.
Um, I feel like with the mood writing thing, once it jumps into my head,
Yes.
I have to do it and I become a little bit hyper fixated on it and I will write it once it's there. And I
Yep.
feel like The Lost Lady, it came out of nowhere. I was, I'm still in the pack.
Yep.
I've got 7, so I've got over 4 out. I was actually writing book 4 while I was doing The Lost Lady. So I was doing 2 at a time.
Wow.
Um, and yeah, she came out of nowhere and demanded I write it. So
Yes.
I had to stop and I had to write it.
That is
Yeah.
so, yeah, I love how you described that. She came out of nowhere and I had to write it because I'm such a big advocate of creativity being like a kind of like an unknown force in the
Mm,
spirit kind of world where it's just like these ideas like are so nebulous and they come into our heads and I'm always like if it comes into your head, it wants the story to be written through you. So you got to
yeah,
write it.
right. No, it is. You do. You have to stop and write it because, I can't focus on anything else but that. And that's very much what The Lost Lady was. It was
Amazing.
really fun, actually.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I like to
It
hear
was
that.
fun. Yeah.
So, The Lost Lady is an interconnected standalone to the Farrowline series, or
No, completely different.
oh,
We're in a
completely
different
different.
world.
Sorry.
Yeah, different series, different world, different characters, different kind of shifter. Uh,
Yes.
completely different in the
Ooh,
yeah, in a really good way.
in a
So,
good way. Can you give us a
yeah.
bit more of an insight into what kind of shifter that is without giving too much?
Oh, without giving too much away, because you do find out what they are at the end of the book.
Okay.
There are hints throughout. I have had lots of people guess and, guess correctly. I have had a fair people who went, I didn't even see that. I didn't even realize that's what they are. So I'll
Mm.
probably just leave it there, but they're not
Yep.
wolves. So we have
Okay.
our pack, my pack.
Yep.
These are my new
Different.
shifters. The shifters of Azanir are very different.
Yes, very
Yeah.
different. I love to hear it because also just going back to the people that did guess correctly, were they people that were hugely invested and were very like detail oriented about what was going on in the Farrowline series, in the Pack series?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, you
And
kind of
they
get
pick up they pick up,
they know
the
your
little
writing.
subtle. So they probably know my writing. Yeah, that's probably what it is.
But the
There
people
are
that
some,
yeah.
yeah, there are some pretty good indicators of what they would be.
Okay. Mm,
Um,
mm.
you just have to pick up your little crumbs along the way. Not necessarily that I meant it as a big secret. It wasn't necessarily something I was going to keep. I guess it's the wording used and the new terms for them. And um, whereas, like, we talk about the pack. Here we
Yes.
have, the shades of Azani. So they come from, their realm into the human realm. So it's very different where this is where humans live. and then it's a whole completely different kind of realm that, they've crossed into the human realm. So I guess referring to them as, the Azanites and all that sort of stuff
Yeah.
is very much why it didn't come out as until the very end. Um,
Yeah.
but I liked
Mm,
it at the end. I was like, okay, we'll keep that because I did. There's a few points where I was like going to, and I was like, no, maybe I'll leave that and
leave it at
see.
the end. I think
And
it
it seems to have worked out well.
I think so, and I think it's a great literary device to keep people guessing until the very
So,
end. Yeah, this is how it's going to be. And is there going to be a sequel or more in this
yes,
series? Oh, so
there will be more. There was originally going to be two in the series, but I feel maybe it's going to be three now. Um,
so
so it's definitely
exciting.
going to stop at three. I won't go any more than three for the shifters. There are some things that might happen after that that might not necessarily be about the lost lady, but still the same world. But we will see what my head does because at the moment, yeah, it's doing a few different things.
Yeah,
So
you just got to go with the flow. Please
that's right.
continue. Please continue with that flow. Please listen to what your head wants to do, as you
That's
said, because yeah, this is important because the Lost Lady of the Darkwoods has appeared. And also, I really love how it looks completely, as in the cover, sorry,
yes.
the cover looks completely different to the
So
pack.
yes. So we got new cover designer, new graphics, interior artwork. She did an amazing job with all of that. Again, I said a few words and a few little things, and we have this graphic designer who's taken it and created something. And I'm just like, how do you do that? I can't, it's not something I can do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wanted it to be completely different, so that
Yeah.
there was a between this is the pack, and then these are the shifters of Azanish. So,
Yeah,
um,
when I
yeah,
saw it, I thought, this is, whoa, oh, okay, this is A L Rojo. I
yeah,
was, yeah, I was like, oh my goodness, this is so exciting, completely different. But of course, your writing is the same and the same flavors of what we enjoy from the pack. But what I really like about The Lost Lady of the Darkwoods cover is the delicate way that the letters wrap around the oh gosh, I've got to zoom in so I can see it. It looks like a column, but I could be completely wrong about what the long diagonal diagonal stone structure is around the
the, the,
S, the
oh, the
top.
top of the is that
Yes,
what
that's what I'm
we're
referring to.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't have it in
Yes.
front of me. I'm like trying to look at it. I'm like, yeah,
I
that's
know.
just what I. Yeah.
I've got it in front, like I've got the Goodreads profile here, and I'm trying to like zoom in to like look at it closely. But I really like how the
Amazing.
lettering, yeah, is so
Caitlin's
delicate,
amazing. Yeah. So that's designed
beautiful.
by Kate. She's fantastic. So Caitlin's done a fantastic job.
Shout
As I
out to
said, it's only
Caitlin.
a few words that I got because I'm not very articulate when it comes to what do you want. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's
And
hard.
it's like this is what it's about.
It's
And that's
hard.
what, she's come up with. So
Yeah,
again, blown away by another graphic designer who can do stuff that I could not imagine or be able to do.
it's so
Um,
exciting to see. Yeah.
and having people on the team is so, so important, especially for us indies or for myself, even just personally. Having people to lean on
Mm,
and connect with in this community, and different kind of graphics and all these sorts of artists and stuff. You can't, you they're amazing,
so
absolutely amazing.
passionate.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
and it's really exciting to bring to life a story from someone that you chat with and you communicate with, even though, yes, it's from a business perspective where it's, business to business, the writer and the graphic designer. But it's so different when you're working with someone who is an indie because there's like that little part of like you take away the kind of maybe commercial drive of some other clients that, just speaking from myself, where I've much enjoyed working with and drawing for indie authors rather than necessarily other sort of like, yeah, commercial driven projects where you get to talk to the indie author and you see the passion come through, which
yeah.
is very evident. So, getting back to the content of The Lost Lady of the Darkwoods, how did you come up with that title too, by the way?
It is said in the book.
Uh-huh.
So when when the Drenga, so the warriors, they come and they find her. So they assumed that she had died, like because she ran away. And it's been about 10 years, so that they kind of rock up. All these sorts of things happen in the book, and then they end up kind of facing her and saying, "But you're the lost lady of the Darkwoods. Like you're how are
Oh,
you
her.
here?" So it's
Yeah.
like, why are you here? Like you shouldn't be here.
And this is
And
her
that's, I
story.
guess, where it came from was do I do a long title? Do I do a short title? And that kind of played around in my head for such a long time. Similar to kind of The Heart, actually, that wasn't the original title that it was going to be. So
Oh,
again, probably like the writing, like I try to just sit in my space and let the words fly and write things down you know, um, and I always just gravitated to the Lost Lady of the Darkwoods
yeah.
and then that was it. A few people were like, "Oh, I don't know," and in my little world, my beaters and things, so, which I appreciate and I want
Oh, yeah.
that conversation 100%.
Yep.
But it wouldn't unstick. So I'm like, oh no, I
Yes.
think I think that's what it has to be. So
And you can
yeah,
make those decisions as the
yeah,
author. You don't have to worry about a publishing house go, oh, that would sound better for marketing purposes or such and such. No, that was the name. That was what it was meant to be. So
that's right.
it's based on
Yeah.
vibes. I love it. No, 100%. I definitely agree with just following your nose with certain things. Like, I know there is something to be said about a catchy title where I think you hear a lot of, well, you see a lot of fantasy novels that have, like, I guess the word I'm thinking of, like, court as a word is popular, or like a royal sort of name, like the prince or the princess or queen or such and such with that kind of thing. But this title kind of hits the nail on the head with like having sort of like a figure with like the lost lady, and then you've got the dark woods. So there's the spooky kind of dark area to it. So I think it's really unique. I love it.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, of course. So, how has it kind of felt jumping into the Lost Lady of the Darkwoods series from you had published book 4 of the pack, and I'm sure you're getting into book 5, but has it been like
Yeah,
a nice kind of change to write something different?
I think so. I think it makes the pack better. Um,
Hmm.
so I feel like it came at a time with my head and very much vibing and mooding on it.
Yeah.
It came when it needed to come because I was a bit, I guess what I've said about how it's now going to be 7 in the series. I felt like I was not so much unsure what was happening in the pack, but I needed to change something.
Hmm.
And I ended up writing a completely different book instead, giving the
Yeah.
pack a break and a minute. So Gilly's story in book 4 of the pack, I wrote quite a bit of it, and then I kind of shifted in my head, and the Lost Lady actually gave me the chance to give her that a break, book 4 a break. And then I actually came back and I changed a lot of what happened in her story. And it's so much better for it. It needed to happen. And it was like, actually, no, this is what has to happen to Gilly, or, in book 4, this is what has to happen. Um, so the Lost Lady gave me that chance to step away from the pack a bit.
Yeah.
And now, yeah, I've added another one to the list, and I'm writing book 5 alongside the book 2 of The Lost Lady. And yeah,
Things happen for a
it's
reason like that, don't
that's right.
they?
I believe that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that like they always, well, there's a common sort of recommendation that once you finish a draft of a manuscript, you need to step away from it for a little bit to let it simmer. And perhaps in some ways, that's an approach that you felt like you needed to take, where before you jumped into book 5, let's just take a step back for a little bit, kind of work on something else. And it's always the same, like when I'm designing, where I've got an idea and then I get to the end of the day and I'm like, no, it's not going anywhere. No, no, no. But then wake up the next day, log into work, and then
Yeah.
bam, there it is. I just need a break.
100%. Um, and I did a post recently on Instagram about, some of the things that I've learnt. And I guess the biggest thing that I've learnt is to just step away from it, especially when you get like the writer's block, or the story just evaporates and it's gone, and you could be halfway through writing and it's gone all of a sudden. And I very much learnt to just kind of just don't fret, leave it, walk away. It might take a week, maybe two. It doesn't matter how long it's going to take me.
No.
But if it needs to, as you're saying, simmer, then it just needs to simmer for a bit.
Does, because it's a lot of brain power in our own heads to constantly keep thinking about it. And sometimes I think maybe this is my experience, but you kind of can feel like, well, I'll give you an example. Like the story I'm writing right now, it's titled Darkness in the Flesh. And I felt like the character, yeah, it is going to
That
be
I
a
was like,
bit,
oh,
oh, it's going to be a bit dark, but I was actually kind of losing sight of maybe, this is going to sound a bit weird, but the dark part of it. And I had to just go back and because I love creating playlists about the songs and the characters. And when I first created the playlist, when I started writing Darkness in the Flesh, it was veering on the emo side and that kind of thing. So I just had to keep listening to that to really go, hold on, let's get back. Let's get back to the core of what's going on here instead of trying to make this story maybe something that it's not. So
yeah,
the music helped with that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I
So
understand that completely.
you just have to take a break, let it
Have to
simmer.
take a break. That's right. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So, out of curiosity, and you maybe have answered kind of this for me already, because shifters are a big theme, maybe between the two series. But are there other similarities or differences between the shifters of Azania? Is that right? Am I saying that correctly?
Right.
And the pack?
In the pack, I guess the fundamental um idea that so I like to write characters, especially, male characters that are very respectful. They're very, there is kind of like a hierarchy and I'll say the word respectful again. I'm trying to find a different
Yeah,
word for it.
like a
It's very
society.
much like yeah, like the society, like that kind of,
Yeah,
how
like what
we
is the word? Like
talk
for
with each other and the found family, and there is
yes,
that
yeah,
sort of kind of I guess the tropes
the
are
tropes. Yep.
pretty what I would say would kind of interlink.
Yeah,
Um, but I do try to make sure that there's respect in the books
love that.
between all my characters, especially the MMC and the FMC. So
Yes.
there's always that, and you find that in the pack and in the Lost Lady. Even though
Yep.
there's like big warrior, hunky, shifter males, it's not necessarily that sort of stuff. There's
Yes.
still a respect
We
underlying.
need a lot more of that, I think, personally. And maybe that's just my own thoughts on types of tropes that are written out there for romance. Now, it's not to say that people can't explore their interests and things like that, but for me, consent and writing about respect should be like an underlying, I don't know, like it should kind of just be a baseline thing that is explored. And then from there, when it comes to the intricate details of a romance or a relationship, that can be explored in so many other ways, so long as you have the foundations of respect and consent there between two people. So I'm really glad to hear that you're putting respect in the forefront of your mind when you write, yeah, your MMCs.
They're relationships that, to me are proper. Like, what I would find is, a relationship that my characters experience with each other throughout
Yeah.
all my books are very much, yeah. So how we speak to each other, there might be, issues within it, and, a lot of other tropes are explored, and there's all that one, all that sort
Yeah.
of stuff. Um, there is about hierarchy in a good way.
Yeah.
Hopefully that
I
comes
think
across.
so. And I think there's no trouble in, depicting sensitive topics in literature, that's important to show what happens in a not desirable relationship because that's also the character development themselves. You've got to show a light and a dark. But I think it's best to do what you're doing by showing this is what I would promote as the romantic to have a relationship from respect and
Yeah.
consent and all that kind of good stuff. And it's something that I would like to explore a bit more in my own novels. I'm still in the young adult space, so that is something I'm conscious of with romance and things like
Yeah.
that. But when I do eventually veer out into other sorts of things, then maybe that is something I will be keeping in mind. But yeah, I love, love, love to hear that from yourself. So that's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, do you have any plans for maybe some character art to come out specifically for shifters of Azania?
All right.
Oh,
There might be some things happening in the works for artwork and, different sorts of avenues that I'm exploring with some fantastic artists out there. But I'll just say that for now.
okay. So
If
exciting.
something comes out, it will probably be with the pack first because,
Oh,
they have
sorry,
the
I'm
alpha.
jumping ahead.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness,
The
the
pack
pack.
might
Let's
need the
let's go
things
with that.
first. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff maybe happening in the background that, yeah, I'm communicating with people with and very, very excited for it.
That's so cool.
But yes, in the future,
Yeah,
maybe something
maybe.
might be coming.
We'll just put
Yeah.
a pin in that for now.
Yeah.
Let's just revisit that in the future, whether some artwork comes out. But I'm very excited to hear that as a big visual person myself. And also on that front, just thinking about inspiration and how I love music to um, influence kind of the themes and my writing and things like that. Do you find that music or TV shows or other literature inspires both your series?
Yeah. Music is actually when you said, I was like, yeah, I
Oh,
get
tell
you.
me. Tell me
Yeah.
more.
Music is very much, and I feel like that might link to that emotion part that I was trying to kind of explain hopefully I did it
Yeah.
right. Um, when you listen to, music and you feel those emotions that you want to kind of, so that's very much part of my process. So it's, headphones, blaring music of whatever emotion I need to feel in that moment.
Yeah.
I'll pick a song or I'll pick music or, instrumental stuff to get me in that mood space.
Yep.
Um, but I always need noise. I cannot, maybe it's because I have children and I wrote the very little kids around the house, like, school one when the heart was coming out. So I wrote, with lots of chaos. So it has to have some like telly has to be on, even if
Yep.
everyone's working at school, or the
Watching whatever.
music has to be blaring so that I guess it drowns out also. This might sound maybe, people might understand. It does drown out the logical part of your brain too. If I want
Yeah.
to stay focused within my creative space, especially during the day or the morning when I'm writing,
Yeah.
if I'm listening to music, it drowns out you got to do the laundry, you got to do the this, you have to do
Mm.
the this, you've got this appointment to make, you've got, this
Oh,
work to. It really does help me to drown it out so that I can just be in my emotional creative space
so
um
cool. Love
while I'm
that.
writing. So yeah, music does play a really big part. Um
That's awesome.
yeah,
I
in me
love to hear
finding
that.
the vibe.
So,
Yeah.
if there was a genre of music that would describe the pack versus also Shifters of Asnia, would you have an
It's
answer for that? Is that really hard?
That's actually really hard
Yeah.
because it's such a mood thing and such a different emotion for different, chapters and scenes and, characters that I'm writing for that it's totally different.
Maybe there could be multiple because like
Yeah.
how Spotify, I don't know whether you've got Spotify, but like sometimes it will create these like day lists for you and it will list like these random sort of like tropes almost like to describe the music that's there. Like it will be like, oh, like morning matcha drinking tennis mum vibes or something like that. Just
I
like,
don't have
okay,
that. I have to
whatever,
Spotify,
whatever
but
you,
okay.
yeah, I know
Yeah.
the vibes are so strange,
Embrace
but.
it.
I don't know whether
Might
you
see
can.
what comes out of it. See what comes out of their
That's
vibe.
right. But do you think it would be something more romance heavy for the pack or something more intense or slower? Maybe. I don't know.
It would be in different scenes. So there was
Yeah.
particular songs that I wrote while writing particular scenes.
Oh,
Um, so there probably is a list of songs. It was such a long time ago now,
yeah.
but so I guess it's really not that specific. It's very
Yeah.
much like whatever I'm listening to, and I do kind of once a song starts and it helped me to, and I'll go oh, and then I will kind of
Then
replay it
we'll
a few times
keep
to
playing it.
stay in that headspace so I don't lose it. So
Yep.
there is a lot of repeating of songs,
Yep.
um, which might, kind of kill the song for me after a while, but.
Oh, I get that. It just repeats, but then I'll go back to it after years and I'll be like, that's my song for
Yeah,
that. That's my
it's
song.
space. That's right. Yeah, there's a Bruno Mars song that is linked to the heart so much. And I don't think I've ever said this to anyone
Oh,
actually.
exclusive.
Um, where they're in a nightclub and this thing happens with the main female character and she interacts with someone who's um, the he's not the bad guy, I guess you could
Yep.
say. He is kind of he's the bad guy of the story in a way.
Yeah, in
Uh,
this, yeah.
in this scenario. And I played that song on repeat because
So
it
good.
was such a, nightclubby kind of song that it just kept replaying and replaying. I'm like, this is exactly what I
This is
want
it.
from it.
Yep.
So when you're actually reading that scene and the music, and she's talking about the music and the beat, that's actually the beat going on in my head as I'm visualizing what's happening for her when she's interacting in that.
So
Yeah,
cool. Yep.
yeah.
I relate to that so much. Oh my goodness. I think sometimes what is like a bit of a plus with writing in, for your perspective, when you're writing in the real, I'm not going to say the real world, like not low fantasy, urban fantasy and that stuff, is that the the songs can relate a lot more easily in some ways than the high fantasy worlds that I've got coming on. They're talking about themes that you're just like, oh, this is not related at all. But the vibes are there. The
The
vibe.
vibe. Pick up the vibe. I'll do like a really sad song or something like that when I need my character to be in that space where she's, feeling something. And yeah, you have to
Feels.
pick up on the vibe sometime.
You do.
I
It's the
think the
vibe.
Lost Lake book two is not going to find a lot of um that's when we go back to, the realm. We're out of the human realm. We're going back to that kind of fantastical world. I
Mm.
feel you. I don't think I'm going to find very many songs to help me get into that
Well, then you
kind
can
of.
just Google like on YouTube actually I do love like typing in like fantasy vibes playlist or and it will just give you some background music. Even gaming music is really helpful like Skyrim music and other kind of stuff that will just be yeah, background music and all that. I really enjoy listening to that to help me
Fantastic.
get into the zone for the high fantasy stuff. So
No, that's
that's
brilliant. I'm going to do that.
do
I'm
that.
going to do it.
Just
Yep.
go and sometimes they put like really cool graphics on it so that you could have it on like one tab. You've got this nice like I don't know whether you need visual stimulation as well, but there is like a nice cool background illustration with some music. Yeah, go onto YouTube and
I'm going to. I
it's,
100%
I
going
should
to.
send you what I've got. I'll send you
Send it to me.
shout out to some playlists that I've got on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, so where can people find you on social media? And are you going to be at any events, book events in the future?
Yes. So socials are very, Instagram's probably my main social platform that I use and Facebook. In terms of upcoming signings, yeah, I'll be at Dark Delights Brisbane in
Cool.
September. I'll be down in Melbourne in October, which is fantastic. I'm very
My
excited.
goodness. I will be
Uh,
meeting you then. I'm sure. Are you going to Sweet Love? Is
Sweet
that where
love. Yes.
I'm there?
Yeah.
Oh, I
Brilliant.
can't believe you're coming down
Oh,
to Melbourne.
I am. I'm coming down to Melbourne. Super excited about that, actually. And I have quite a number of signings next year.
Ooh,
2026 is actually a very big year for me in
oh,
terms of signings and things.
so cool.
Yeah, so I will be in lots of different places.
Ooh, are you going to be? I'm just trying to think. Oh, well, you list the ones that you can think of at the top of your head, but it's all good
I
if
will
you.
be at Meet Me in the Mountains. I
Is
will
that?
be at Adelaide, so the first chapter.
Oh, so
So
cool.
that romantic affair.
Yes. And have you been to that one before?
I have. That was
That.
I love Adelaide. It was my first trip to Adelaide
Oh
in
wow.
January, and I loved it. I fell in love with Adelaide.
Oh my
So I am
God.
so happy, and so yeah, very, very excited to go back there next year.
Everyone loved it. I felt like I definitely got the FOMO. I think everyone was just like,
Great.
yeah, awesome.
It
That's so cool.
honestly, it's everyone's so great down there. Um, I'll be at Once Upon a Fairy Tale. That's in New South Wales. Newcastle Book Boyfriend. So yeah, there's a few
Heaps.
next year.
That is
Yeah.
so exciting. Are you coming to Melbourne again next year as well? Maybe.
Um,
You'd have to see.
I don't know actually.
That's all
I'm
right.
not
No
sure. A
problem.
lot of New South Wales signings next year, which I'm very happy about because,
Super
from New South
easy.
Wales. So
Yeah,
they do make it a lot easier to get down there. And so I've only
for
got two
sure.
interstate ones at the moment. So Queensland and
Oh,
Adelaide. So they're my
amazing.
kind of interstate ones. Yeah.
Yes. And of course, the Melbourne one down in.
Melbourne this year, cannot wait.
Yes, I can't
Yeah.
wait for it. There's going to be some awesome authors there. So I can't wait to get involved with Sweet Love. I think that's going to be awesome. And Meet Me in the Mountains sounds really cool as well. Is that in
Yeah,
the Blue Mountains?
but it's in Penrith, so the foot of the
Yep.
mountains in Western Sydney.
Yep.
So that's super close for me actually. So that's Western Sydney for me.
Yep.
So I'm
Yep.
very much looking forward to that one as well. So
So cool.
that's early next year.
I'm going to
Yeah.
have to go up to Sydney and see you at some of these events. I'm going to
Yes.
have to try because it's really, I mean, I say that it is a good, hour away flight with all the other things that you've got to do before that. But, really, I think there's an opportunity for interstate visits to be happening. And that's one thing about the indie community that I very much enjoy is that you can connect with people all across Australia in
That's great.
this space. With that, I should thank you formally for being a wonderful, wonderful guest on the show today, Alex. I really appreciate all your insights into your indie author life. I'm so excited to see what's going to happen next with your journey.
No, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you having me on today. I've had a lot of fun and yeah, it's been really great chatting with you.
Oh,
Thank
anytime. You're always welcome back. A friend of the show, a friend of the show.
you.
So thank you so much.